It's your guy, Honcho. This is fourth in fantasy. What the fuck it is? This is my guy.
Rocco,
How we
Siriaco, but call me Rocco.
Man, it's a wonderful night. It's another night. I feel like at this point, free agency, even though it hasn't really been free agency, it's still legal tampering, if you will.
Hmm.
It's kind of died down. Not that many news. You got a couple guys who are still lingering around, but for the most part, it's just about looking for teams signing their own peoples, like we
Hmm.
saw earlier in the week with Jamar Chase and T. Higgins getting their big contracts. Great for fantasy, great for Jamar Chase owners. Depends on how you feel about T. Higgins and how you wanted his, I guess, career to go. He had the potential to go on to that to be somebody's wide receiver one somewhere else, but he decided to come back to Cincinnati. And before we actually get
Hmm.
on the topic of our actual video today, boys and girls, I did want to talk on that a little bit of the Jamar Chase and T. Higgins outcome and just for the fantasy landscape outcome of it all. One, I was one of the people who very much wanted T. Higgins to come back to the Cincinnati Bengals, where I thought because I have a good portion of Jamar Chase. I traded for him before this last breakout year he had. Well, I wouldn't even say breakout year, but last really great year. I think all career highs across the board.
Hmm.
And what I was kind of fearing for 2025 was him going into the year without his Robin to his Batman, right?
Hmm.
Having somebody else defenses have to be mindful of so they can't key on you and double you and triple you all the time. That's what I was kind of fearing because if that was the case, and even though T. Higgins did miss some time in 2024, I still felt like in 2025 and kind of just the overall success for the Bengals offense, they needed to do whatever they needed to do to bring back T. Higgins. So, in all, super happy with him being back. Super happy as a Jamar Chase owner. I
Hmm.
don't have very much of Burrow as my QB shares, but really good for him as well in that overall offense. And now I actually think that since you're now paying two big time wide receivers, your offense has to run through these guys. There's no, yes, you still have to stay balanced and just Chase Brown will get his due. They'll probably draft a running back, but
Hmm.
uh, this doesn't. This offense needs to run through those two guys going forward. No ifs, ands, buts about it. But what do you think about those two guys signing back with the Bengals?
I think it's the most balls deep offensive situation in the fucking league. I mean, they have a great offense. They have a great trio. They maybe even a quad if you include Chase Brown, but all of their monies are invested in the offense.
Mm,
So and they may lose Trey Hendrickson, who is the only guy worth anything on that defense.
mm,
Close runner up in sacks last year and high ranking as far as defensive player of the year for for a defense that terrible.
mm.
So yeah, I mean they look like they're going to be in shootouts every week, which I
Sure,
love
fuck it.
because not only are the Bengals going to score points, but everybody they face is going to score points. So, I mean, I just look for offensive explosions, and I, for one, love it because you know, uh, not every team could be super elite on one side of the ball, which the Bengals can. So really, all they need to do is focus on getting maybe one or two playmakers on the
Mhm.
defensive side because all they need is maybe one turnover, two turnovers, and they're going to win most games just by outscoring teams. So they don't need an elite defense. They just need a team that defense that'll make plays. So I really look forward to watching the Bengals. That seems like a super fun team to watch next year. The
Mhm.
only thing we can hope for is that they start a little bit better and make it back into the playoffs because that team and that offense they can beat anybody, which they've
I
done to
can,
the Chiefs before in the playoffs.
I agree with you, and I kind of feel bad just for the New England Patriots fans because before the start of all this, we went from the Patriots are going to trade for T Higgins, the Patriots are going to try to go get Chris Godwin, the Patriots are going to try to go get the Ayuk, the Patriots are going to try to get all these different wide receivers, the Cooper Cup, and didn't get none of them, which I thought was fucking hilarious. But they're
Well,
current,
I think they're
yeah.
gonna get I think they're gonna get Ted or Travis Hunter at this point. I think that's the
Uh,
way it's they're it's pushing towards, and there's still maybe another trade out there. They can make a move for maybe like a Tyreek Hill if he becomes available. And when we get closer to the draft, you don't know who will become available on draft night. So their season's not over, but yes, they have struck out on every target they've gone after so far on the at the wide receiver position.
And before we get too deep in the weeds of our overall topic of discussion, continuing from our last video, remember to share, like, and subscribe the video, subscribe to the channel, whatever you can to support the channel is greatly appreciated. We're almost close to 900. Help us get there. And then we're on the road to 1,000. And after that, 5,000. And after that, 10,000. So once again, always appreciate y'all for the time and you know anyone who once again taps in with us. But like I said, we're going to be continuing from our last previous video where we were going over the AFC landscape of things and what depth charts were actually going to be screwed going forward, depending on where or if or when they selected 2025 NFL rookies coming up. Now, today we will be looking at the NFC side of things. And honestly, we're going to start with the NFC East and my favorite, y'all favorite. We already know who's favorite. The Dallas Cowboys. Y'all know what it is, what it is. You did. I actually saw something the other day rank this backfield, and it was the Dallas Cowboys backfield after they signed Javante Williams and Miles Sanders. They're like ranked this backfield in the NFL. Someone gave it a 32 out of 32. Disrespectful. I don't know who you are, who you think you is, but the disrespect will not be tolerated. Now, y'all know it, already know it. I am a big Cowboys fan. I'm 100% thankful for going to be drafting a rookie running back. If you didn't know, now you know. But I think that's one of the stories in the NFL that was inevitable at this point. Who do we draft? What round does that happen in? I can't personally tell you that. One moment we're hearing they're not looking at the running back position in the first. The another moment they're liking Marion Hampton. He's not going to be there for you at 44. I personally like so many different guys in this draft. I don't think we need to get one at first. I don't think we need to go get an Ashton Gency to be successful. I'd like several other guys in this draft, like Junkins, DJ Giddens, RJ Harvey, Cam Scatterbo, even though I don't think that would be our selection per se if we did go that direction. But there's so many different Caleb Johnson. How could I forget my RB2 of this particular 2025 running back class? I do believe the Dallas Cowboys will be selecting a rookie running back. Now let's look at the New York Giants. Tyrone Tracy, and then you have also Devin Singletary, who y'all know how we feel about Tracy over here. We hyped him up in his rookie year, even before the season started. He was one of our pet cats just off of being new to the position, the path to being a starter for the New York Giants was a very it wasn't that hard actually. All he needed was the opportunity. What was the opportunity? Devin Singletary ended up getting hurt. Then Tyrone Tracy started having fumbling issues, started fucking up. They were like, "Oh, maybe we need to start giving touches back to Devil Singletary." That's not what we fucking wanted. But that being said, though, I think they're going to continue this youth movement. We're still waiting to see what they do at that QB spot, whether they go with Aaron Rodgers, a Russell Wilson, a Jameis Winston, or one of these rookie QBs and Shador Sanders and Cam Ward. So, or even a Jackson Dart. You just don't know. Uh, a Quinn, maybe, and I don't really see them doing this particular, but maybe Quinn Ewers could be one of those guys they go after. So with the New York Giants, Tyrone Tracy could, and I hate to say this, he could easily retain his RB1 role. I think maybe now if the New York Giants end up do selecting a running back, which I'm about 65% sure that they will, then I hope that Tracy could still, once again, he is an older prospect. He came into his rookie year, I believe, at 25. So he'll be
Hmm.
26 this year in his second year. So we'll see if Tracy can hold off a rookie and don't get passed up. Mind you, he can't have those fumbling issues. But Rocco, what do you think about Tracy holding on to that RB1 spot in New York?
Well, first of all, my apologies. Somebody must have ran into the internet pole around here somewhere because I just had a freak outage just now. But luckily, I have other sources to grab some internet, which I did. Looks like I
Yeah, I
missed the
thought.
Cowboys discussion.
Yeah, I thought we. I was
Uh,
like, I was like, oh, it got quite. It got a little silent, and I was like, oh,
no,
his face is.
I was completely out, man. You were like frozen. You were like, and, and I was like, shit. It says I got internet, but I don't. So
Mm,
let me connect to my portable internet. So Tyrone Tracy, yeah, I think
mhm,
I just traded Tyrone Tracy in the league for a 26 second and a 26 fourth, because I do think, I mean, the writing's on the wall that they're going to draft somebody. Um, I don't, obviously it won't be early. It won't be in the first round.
mm.
Could be in the second. I'm just trying to get back in here.
So you good?
Everything's back up. The New York Football Giants. Trying to see where their pick lies because I think they could be a candidate to pick in the second round. At 34, they're in a great spot. They can pick up whoever slides out of the first, whether it be a similar back like a Travion Henderson or
They
Quinshon
could.
Judkins. Caleb Johnson's, could be in the mix there. If he doesn't go in the first, a lot of teams are going to be looking at Amarion Hampton right there.
Mm.
So, I mean, Devin Singletary, you know, I didn't even list him because he's not worth listing. But Tracy definitely is going
That's
to have some
disrespectful, bro.
competition, and the competition could take his role, and by the second half of the season, could force him into a complementary role. So, yeah, I'm trading some of my Tracy shares right now. I'm just kind of diversifying. I'm still keeping a few because it's not 100% that they're going to draft somebody that's just going to completely nuke him. But I don't want to be left holding the bags because I have, like 40% ownership. So I'm just
Yeah,
selling a
for
few
sure.
here and there, here and there. But They definitely look like a team that could draft somebody in the second or even the third. They can go after like a DJ Giddens or a Cam Scatterboo because they have two third round picks as well.
Now, the Philadelphia Eagles and the Washington Commanders. These are the two last teams in the NFC East. The Philadelphia Eagles, obviously, we don't see anybody replacing Saquon Barkley
Hmm.
in the foreseeable future, as he just signed a new contract with the Eagles. So shout out to them. So shout out to Saquon once again on an amazing 2024 season. And then they also have AJ Dillon. Fuck him. Who cares about him? He could easily be out the way. But they also do like Will Shipley. So we'll see how that potentially goes. I don't see the
The
Eagles signing somebody,
the
but
the
or
Quad Bros.
yeah, I don't see them actually picking up a running back for the
I
Eagles. Now,
could
the,
I could see him pick up a depth piece in the later rounds because they may want to get like a guy that can fill the Kenneth Gainwell role unless they feel confident that Shipley can be that guy. I still think that Barkley, they're gonna have to get somebody to spell Barkley a little bit. He can't touch the ball, 300 plus times in consecutive seasons. So
again, yeah, no, of
um,
course, yeah.
I, I like the thought of them getting in this deep draft they can get somebody on day three, and that person will probably nuke whatever AJ Dillon and Will Shipley are bringing because that guy is sure to be a lot more talented than those guys.
Listen, I feel a lot better about the Commanders selecting a running back than the Eagles selecting a running back, but I
Mm-hmm.
do hear that part. Now, the Commanders, you have Austin Eckler, who's pretty much out the fucking door. We saw the writing on the wall with him last year. He doesn't look like the same guy. He looks slow. It is what it is. It's what happens with running backs at this point in his career. And then you got Brian Robinson, who has looked like a pretty solid RB2 when he gets the touches and things are going well and they're not blowing out teams. And they can lean more on the running game and not, do what they do. Once again, I don't see neither of these guys being a reason why you don't go draft one of these running backs. Austin Eckler, I think this is his last year as a
Mm-hmm.
commander. They'll be looking for his replacement. And then Brian Robinson, I believe he recently signed a contract not too long ago. It wasn't a lot either, but I could see them drafting a
Mm-hmm.
running back to one, replace Eckler next year, and then two, just to add more dynamic, you know, to the run game that they have.
Yeah, I think actually now that I'm kind of looking at it and thinking about it, I think that they are a good candidate to take a running back at the end of the first round. They pick at 29th. And Brian Robinson's mid. He's meh. He's a perfectly serviceable back.
RB2.
Perfectly serviceable back. He's a guy that
Mhm.
can absorb 40% of the touches. Or if you get an explosive pass catching back, he can take the between the tackles carries and keep the pass catching back fresh. That pass catching back that would go at the end of the first round, I think, is Trevion Henderson. Just imagine
Mhm.
a guy explosive like that in that offense, which can use more explosion, especially from the running back position. He would, immediately take over that Austin Eckler role, and
Mhm.
he would be, he could catch, he could be every bit as good a pass catching back, but the difference is he could take some of those catches to the house. So I think he would be a good guy to add the explosive element, to pair with the explosive element of the quarterback Jaden Daniels and Terry McLaurin.
That's cool, and I'm gonna respect your answer on that. But as a Cowboys fan, fuck all that. I don't want to hear none of that. I don't want no Trevion Henderson going to the Washington
Mm-hmm.
Commanders. So I don't have to deal with that for the next 4 years of my life. I'm cool for
I want the nuts landing on all these running backs. I want them all to be
that.
valuable.
No, we've been going back and forth about this all off season. It feels like because we're going to the NFC North, baby. Now the Chicago Bears very heavily talked about drafting or have been predicted as one of the teams to be drafting Ashton Genty. But I very much believe in DeAndre Swift. I still think he is a good running back, and he's back with his offensive coordinator from the Detroit Lions. I don't think he's going to get nerfed. I think he's going to be RB1 for the Chicago Bears. I would like to go out on a high limb and say that. And then they're going to be actually not selecting Ashton Genty, but fucking instead, they're going to go ahead, wait maybe about to the second or third round, and pick up a running back then. But I still think they're not done building out that offensive line. They're going to go ahead and get themselves a tackle. Why not the tackle from Mizzou? Why not the tackle from Louisiana, LSU? Will
The
Campbell, I
guard
believe.
from the guard,
Oh, he's a tackle.
he's got baby arms.
Yeah, man,
Arms too
he's good
small
though.
of tackle.
He's good though, man. He could support. Listen, I'm tell you, DeAndre Swift, and I just traded away in one of my leagues. I just traded away um, James Conner for Swift, and I believe a third. I gladly ran with that motherfucker because I still believe. Once again, go dogs. You know how I feel about my boys, and maybe I'm a little, I'm a homer, but I do still think that Swift is going to have a very high. I won't say a very high, but he's going to be very much involved in that offense.
Like sex offender mystical says, danger. His job is in
Danger,
danger. Better
danger.
watch himself. I don't know. We've been hearing all off season that Genty is going to the Bears, and it very well could happen. You made a solid point that they do need tackle. They beefed up the interior line, so now, it's natural for them to try to beef up, the tackle position. You add 10. But there's a very real chance that the guys they like aren't there. So they may be. I know there's some people in the building. There's too much smoke there to not believe that some people in the building do want Genty, and
Yeah, of
one of those
course.
people could be the offensive minded coach. So if the tackles are gone, they very well could go for what they believe to be a generational running back. Um, so that's definitely in play. They could always go for another edge player. There's a lot of different options there. I'm of the belief that you know Ashton Genty, you know, the first team that drafts Ashton Genty, in the top 10 is probably making a mistake just because of the depth of the running back class.
Yeah,
So,
it's a terrible.
um, yeah, yeah. But they can still go with uh, Quinshon Judkins at
They could.
39, and Quinshon Judkins and Swift. That could be your Sonic and Knuckles tandem because Quinshon Judkins, is a beast between the tackles, and uh, Swift is going to bring that pass catching and speed element. So, that may be a better pairing, but he's still in danger. There's, probably a 30% chance that team drafts Genty and DeAndre Swift is nuked into oblivion.
Okay, I give you those odds, and that's okay. And we I'll give you that 30%. That's still 70% that shit might not happen, Rocco.
Me
But we're gonna
personally,
keep
I am
rocking.
staying away from running backs.
Yeah, like yeah, I understand that approach
I'm
at this
tra-
point.
After the last week's breakdown, I tried to get rid of a shitload of backs. Even ones I like Najee Harris. Give me that second. Just give it to me.
Now, the Packers and the Vikings. One of these teams are very much maybe don't see. Okay, maybe I'll take that back. Hear me out, and hear what I'm about to lay on you. The Vikings could see you potentially selecting a running back. Aaron Jones is just back on a 1 year deal. Yes, they just traded for Jordan Mason. Jordan Mason, I believe, signed a 2 year extension on his contract. So when Aaron Jones leaves in 2026, Jordan Mason becomes your RB1. Then your rookie will be your RB2. That's how I could see this happening. Now, who would be a different guy and kind of similar, like different from Jordan Mason, but similar to the skill set that you would be losing in a Aaron Jones? Hmm, maybe a RJ Harvey. Hmm, maybe a Jordan James. Hmm, these are guys that I'm thinking that could potentially go into that role who would be really good in a zone scheme, run scheme. But and then you have the Packers who, yes, they have Jacobs, who once again, I will say, had a really nice 2024. Don't want to take anything from that. But a lot of that was touchdown dependent. He got a lot of volume, but sometimes the yardage wasn't there. They got him involved in the passing game, which also helped his value. But at the same time, that's another guy whose contract the Packers could easily get out of if it's not going in the right direction they like. And we haven't seen motherfucking Marshawn Lloyd for a whole year. He can easily get replaced. The best trait for a running back is availability. And that's what we haven't seen from Marshawn Lloyd as of yet. So, Packers, I could 100% see them drafting a running back just because you never know what happens with Jacobs. You definitely don't know what the fuck happens with Marshawn Lloyd. And then with the Minnesota Vikings, they have Aaron Jones for this year. He's probably out of there in 2026. Jordan Mason, he's going to be your RB2 this year. If Aaron Jones ends up getting hurt, can eventually give you that RB1 production. But I say, if I had to give you a percentage, Rocco, I would give the Packers about a fifth. I'll say about a six. I think the Packers about a 40% chance on drafting a running back. I give the Vikings
In
about
what
a.
round?
Uh,
Because I think we need
I
to
think
qualify it because, they have teams that will draft a running back in the first 2 days, and then there's almost all the teams, are eligible to draft somebody, on day three because that's when you'll have a lot of value guys around.
Well, I don't see if they didn't trade for Jordan Mason, they were one of the teams that I had as a prime location for Caleb Johnson in the second round. Now that Jordan Mason is with Minnesota, I don't maybe see them taking one until, like I said, Minnesota is not a team that has a lot of holes. So they could end up just doing best player available type. And maybe the best player available is a running back in the second. But we'll see with them. I say the Packers might be a little bit more probable to select a running back just because Jacobs, he not to say he was fairly healthy in 2024, but he's been a player that's been known to be banged up throughout the year. And then, like I said, with Marshawn Lloyd, he's a big ass question mark. You just don't know what you're going to get from him. So,
Yeah, I think the Packer definitely, at least early in the draft, they're very likely going to draft a receiver because those guys that they have they look good on paper coming into last year, but
mm,
they've proven that they need a number one. So I look for them to draft a receiver early. Um, I think they're more. I mean, they could draft a guy in the third round, but I look at them more as a team that's gonna draft somebody on day three. And I'd probably say the same about the Vikings. I think they're gonna. I think the way they set up their offseason, they're gonna go after defense because they definitely can add to the defensive side of the ball, and I think they're gonna
Mm.
tackle offensive line because um, I think their offensive line was kind of patchwork, so I think they can definitely go after those positions, and bringing in Mason just gives them kind of an insurance policy and gives
Mm.
them the ability to kind of just go best player available where they don't necessarily have to get a running back in the first 3 rounds. So if I was to guess, I think both of these teams are gonna pick up a guy on day 3, but I think it's somewhat unlikely for them to get somebody in the first 3 rounds.
And before heading to the NFC South and talking about those guys, remember to share, like, subscribe if you made it this far into the video. Appreciate y'all once again. Now, Rocco, hear me out. Panthers, you know how I feel about my boy Chuba. He is the bona fide RB1 in Carolina. Jonathan Brooks was supposed to be RB2. I hope your recovery is going fairly well. Now he tore his ACL. Rico Dowdle might end up being one of the secret or low key signings, I believe, this year. With how, if they want to keep Chuba healthy, he's going to get his fair load. You don't know. Yeah, I don't foresee Brooks coming back anytime in the early season or even mid season. Could you draft a running back? Yes. In
Hmm.
the hope of Dowdle is just on a 1 year deal. He might not come back in 2026. Hopefully, in 2026, Brooks has done enough to where he can be some type of contribution to the team. But nevertheless, Carolina could see themselves in need of drafting a running back just because you just never know what's going to happen with that position. Hell,
Hmm.
Chuba ended the year on IR because of a calf injury. So you'll be down Chuba, you would be down Jonathan Brooks with just Rico Dowdle, who is still serviceable in my opinion. What do you think about
Yeah,
Carolina?
I think they set themselves up to where they don't have to draft a running back. I can see them attacking other positions because that team is lacking in a lot of areas. But signing Dowdo as he's going to be one of the better number twos in the league. I mean, the guy had 1,000 yards for the Cowboys last year on fairly efficient numbers. So they look to be a safe team. I think Dowdo actually insulated or protected Chuba a little bit from them drafting somebody early. So I think Chuba can still smash in 2025. They got Dowdo as the number 2, and Brooks now he can take off all of 2025, recover, get stronger, and now in 2026 if they still believe in him, they'll have a rock solid young player coming in that can be their running back of the future. So everybody, like I said, everybody can't draft a guy on day 3, but they're looking more like a team that will maybe bring in a running back in the fifth, sixth, seventh round, or even as a priority free agent. I don't see them sinking any kind of early capital in a running back because that's just not how they set up in their off season.
And we don't see, or right now foresee, the Falcons or Buccaneers most likely selecting a running back. But your Saints have Kamara, who's getting older, and I believe just only on one last year, only one more year on his deal, I believe. Correct me if
Mm-hmm.
I'm wrong. And then you got Kendre Miller, who has a new head coach, so he could be out the doghouse. He was very much in the doghouse last year. Ooh, and I guess didn't get the opportunity he
Mm-hmm.
thought was warranted. I can 100%, and I guess It's really disrespectful as fuck to Rocco because you didn't even put Clyde on here on the depth chart. You know he's on the
He
team.
he's still dealing with depression, my guy.
You fucked up, man, for not having him on his depth chart.
He don't belong anywhere on that depth chart. He might not even make the team. As sad as to say that is. Yeah, it looks like to me that the Saints are locked into Alvin Kamara for 2025 and 2026. There's a void year in 2027, but he looks very solidly like he's going to be the Saints running back for the next 2 years. With that being said, the Saints have always been a type of team that wants to make a splash. So they are aligned to be a team that surprisingly picks Ashton Genty. I don't want it, but I can definitely paint a picture where they would do that because the team just basic. I mean, Dennis Allen basically didn't believe in Kendra Miller, and I think he just killed that kid's confidence. So Kendra may have to go somewhere else to really
hmm
to really produce anything because I think his confidence just been smashed in New Orleans, and he spent most of his career on IR or sitting on the bench. So we have seen precious little outside of some preseason flashes from him. So this team is definitely a team that could draft a running back. I think it's very likely they draft a running back. I think that's very likely that they draft a running back high, and it could be as early as the ninth pick. I definitely can see them screwing the pooch and making that move, but it would be very Saints like when you have a number of needs for that
Number,
team, a number
numerous.
of numerous needs. Number one, I mean, I don't even know if I can say number one because offensive line is a huge need for the Saints. The Saints also need receiver. I mean, uh, will will our guy Olave ever be the same after being thrown hospital balls over and over for his career with Derek
Who
Carr?
knows?
I don't know. But I can definitely see. I definitely wouldn't recommend them to do that. Um, I mean, they're situated if they want to go in the second round. If they want to get one of those running backs we spoke about that are slipping into the second round, that may be the move. If it was me, I would more go in the third round where the Saints have two picks. Um, that's where I would replenish the running back position. Um, but the Saints are such a wild card. They just do dumb shit and
Dumbass
um,
shit, man.
dumb shit, and they may pull the trigger on Genti. I'm hearing little whispers here and there, and it could happen. You know, I don't want to see it, um, but it could happen. I'm just
no,
crossing my fingers that it doesn't.
I think he would be before we head to the NFC East and look at a few of those teams. Think he would be the highest running back y'all drafted since Reggie Bush, which I don't think he's a Reggie. Actually, I take that back. Well, but yeah, that they're two different complete
Uh,
players.
I'm
But
old enough to remember the Saints trading away their entire draft for Ricky Williams
I don't
back
remember
in the
that.
day, and Mike Ditka uh, and Ricky Williams dressing up as husband and wife, and they put my man in drag, and I don't know, he just looked so uncomfortable. No wonder he started smoking the ganja on a regular
Shout out to
basis.
Ricky, one of my favorite running backs ever to touch the pigskin. Now, NFC East with the Cards, who I can very much foresee them drafting a running back. Why can I see them drafting a running back? Do you think Rocco? It's because I don't know. Maybe I am a very big believer in James Conner ever since his pit days. He's just been a really serviceable running back, called
Hmm.
upon when you need him. Now he's done a better job of being healthy. And then you got Trey Benson from last year's draft, who I'm not very high on at all. I think he's an okay guy. I think he was being overhyped a bit last year. And I don't think Trey Benson, if Trey Benson was in this current 2025 class, I want to just go on a hot take to say he might not even be in the top 10 for me.
Hmm.
I don't even think Trey Benson would be a top 10 running back in this class for me. So I could very much see the Cards going ahead and getting a running back. But I mean, yeah, it's James Conner, it's Trey Benson. I think they still have DeMarcado. I think maybe they still have Michael Carter. I could be wrong in
They're
that.
drafting a running back.
They're drafting a guy.
They're
So,
drafting a running back. Their starter's Dusty, and
damn,
he's
why
only
Dusty
really
though?
signed. He's really only signed until the end of this upcoming year because they have an out in his contract where they only have 2.5 million dead cap. Trey Benson showed zero. The only thing he's shown, you know, in his career is a good 40 time at the combine. But outside of that, we've seen zilch from him, and that team could easily replace Benson. They can draft a guy, and they can be looking, for the future in that backfield. So I think James Conner is pushing 30, and he's been relatively healthy the last couple of years. But we're talking about a guy that's been super injury prone over his career. So I don't believe that they're gonna want to sink all of their eggs in the Connor and Benson basket, and they will draft a running back in the top 3 rounds.
Yeah, I mean the most carries that we saw Trey Benson got last year was I believe 11, and he's only hit double digit carries twice last year. Mind you, James Conner, he's the bell cow, the workhorse of that offense, if you will. So
Mm-hmm.
that's how they run. I think their running game is actually going to take a dive down after losing Clayton Adams to the Dallas Cowboys as their offensive coordinator. So we will see with them. And then we have our most lovable, beloved backfield of the motherfucking Rams and Sean McVay, who shiesty ass that you can't trust. Kyron Williams, Blake Corum. Kyron Williams, it just seems like he can't die. His role will forever seems like it's
Mm-hmm.
there as long as he doesn't mess it up. That
Mm-hmm.
Blake Corum could barely even see the goddamn field. Rocco, I don't. Could we even fathom them taking another running back? Matter of fact, I feel like with Sean McVay, that's the Sean McVay shit to do. Take another motherfucking running back.
That team's a wild card, honestly. Um, like they draft so well. Like whatever, if they draft a running back at all, he's definitely gonna move up my draft board just a little bit, if not a lot, depending on what round they take him in. Because you look at some of the stars of that team, Kyron, Puka Nakua. These guys were all late, very super late picks. So that's a team to always kind of keep an eye on every single offensive player they draft because they could wind up in a role. That's a big reason why people took a chance on Jordan Whittington, um, last year because that team just drafts so well,
Hmm.
and out of basically out of any team in the league, they have the most fantasy superstars that were very late drafted, both in the NFL and rookie drafts.
Rams definitely are a backfield that you. I've been playing on Kyron Williams' downfall for probably like the last 2 3 years, and
Can always hope.
You know what I'm saying? So I just want to see in Kyron's nothing against you, big dog. I just have some Blake Corum shares that are currently collecting dust as fuck right now. So, but I hope you very much success. The 49ers is a very interesting backfield because I actually did see a tweet today where somebody was talking about CMC being a ticking time bomb. His time as a premier running back, I feel
Hmm.
like it's coming to an end and it's coming to an end very soon. But damn it, did he have one of the greatest runs in the modern day of NFL that we've seen from his days with Carolina to his days with the 49ers. And then you have Mr. Guerrero. I don't I think I have maybe one share of his, but I could definitely see them definitely taking a running back. Why? CMC gets hurt almost every year. You can't count on him to stay healthy. Guerrero ended up actually getting hurt last year. So both have shown to be a little banged up. The 49ers absolutely love running the ball. When they can't run the ball, they run into issues. Now, if CMC comes back healthy, Guerrero comes, it's definitely, he wasn't like if seriously hurt. I do see them
Hmm.
drafting a running back because I don't know how much longer CMC has as a viable option. And they've been cutting players left and right at this point. So maybe it gets to the point where they don't feel like they're getting their return on the investment that they're paying him. And they might end up cutting him maybe a year or 2 years down the line, 3 years down the line. You just never know. So I could see the 49ers drafting a running back.
Um, I'm gonna push back a little bit. Christian McCaffrey's not always hurt because he played basically almost all the games the previous 2 years prior to last year. So I think he does still have viability. I think he still has, and maybe I'm just saying as a guy that has him on teams where I kind of need him.
Oh,
Um,
okay, you right
I'm probably
though.
talking about out of self interest, but I do think he still has, at least one, maybe two monster seasons left. Nobody, nobody, works out as hard as he does, and honestly, I mean, he was on his way back last year, and there was a kind of, I want to say, like a freak play where he got tripped, running full speed, and his knee crashed into the cement-like turf of Bill Stadium. So I think he was well on his way to coming back, and he may have even been able to come back, but that team's season was lost, so there was no reason to rush back at that point. I do think that he can have at least one monster season, and I think that monster season will be in 2025. And I think his game should age well because even if he loses a little bit of explosiveness, he is still one of the best pass catching backs in the league. And I think at some point he'll probably convert into a guy that's absorbing 300 touches a year, damn near 50, 60, 80 catches a year, and will probably be a guy that's more along the lines of that pass catching satellite back, that focuses on catching just 80 passes a year. And he can still do things at the goal line because he's one of the most crafty guys at scoring near the goal line. Even though he's not a big guy, he just knows where to find the hole. So um, all that being said, I do think they still draft a guy, um, but I'll also say that the 49ers track record with picking running backs is not great. So they very well could pick a bust and it won't matter anyway. And just an aside, I do like Garendo. He was like tested as like the most athletic running back like of all time. So another guy that's banged up, but if he can get healthy, he is a guy that is worth stashing
Listen,
um,
Rocco, put your money where your mouth
on the
is.
taxi.
Put your money where your mouth is. Go buy CMC for a first right now.
I will if I can get them for first. People that have them, I sell them for first. You got them?
I don't.
I'll give you a first phone.
Oh shit! Listen, okay, okay, okay. I don't think I have CMC in the league for
That's
that.
a fucking league winner right there, man. I'm into
I'll
winning.
try.
I'm into winning bank.
I will toss his ass for a first in a heartbeat.
Give
In a
me.
fucking
Y'all
heartbeat.
heard it here first. If we in league together, I will give you. I'm not gonna give you a high first, but I'll give you a first.
A late
Somewhere
first. Yeah.
in the back end, 9 to 12, comfortably.
Okay. I'll do a 9. All right. Now, we kind of spoke on the teams, these three teams that are left, but these guys really don't see them selecting a running back, and that is the Detroit Lions, the Atlanta Falcons, like we discussed earlier a little bit before, and then the Seattle Seahawks. We don't see these teams drafting a running back high, or their chances of a running back coming in and taking their spot is fairly
Mm-hmm.
low. The Seattle Seahawks love Kenneth Walker and they absolutely love Sharps for whatever reason. And then Atlanta Falcons, Bijan Robinson's going to Bijan Robinson. I don't need to
Mm-hmm.
say much about that boy. And then you got Tyler Algier, who is the power back, the big bruiser of that
Mm-hmm.
offense. And then obviously the Detroit Lions with Knuckles and you know, Knuckles and Sonic. So
Mm-hmm.
those guys, their backfields are very much, I think, written in in cement and 2025. But nevertheless, they could. It is a fairly deep running back class. They might select themselves
Mm-hmm.
one just for depth. You can never have too many good running backs.
Yeah, I mean, the Lions may draft a guy just to replace Craig. Excuse me, Craig Reynolds. That might be a thing. But the thing about all three of these teams is all of them have either elite running backs, or in the case of Seattle, they have an elite talent with Kenneth Walker the third, and all of them have great backups. I mean, Montgomery could be a starter in the league. Algier, he had 1,000 yards as a rookie, so that just kind of speaks to his talent. And uh, Charbonnet, I'm not a huge fan. I think he's a guy, but all he does is every time KW3 is out, all he does is put up numbers. 100 yards he scores, and he's kind of a do-it-all back. He's just not super explosive, but with those duos, with them having a duo in place, I think that excludes them from really dipping their toes in the first 3 rounds. I mean, I think they can all maybe get some depth piece, in the late rounds or in undrafted free agency. But I would be shocked if those teams drafted anybody in the first 3 rounds. And I do believe those guys on that team are very safe to continue in the roles that they have.
And that is our discussion on the NFC depth charts and running back depth charts to be specific as we get closer and closer and closer to our rookie drafts and our dynasty leagues. That is Fourth in Fantasy, episode 38. Till next time, thank you once again for everyone who tunes in. It's very much appreciated. Every like, every share, every comment, we appreciate it. We see it and we do our best. Whether it's a tweet, whether you're a comment on our videos, whether it's on Blue Sky, wherever we see it, we do our best to reply. Hope everyone has a good rest of their night, or if it's daytime, hope you have a good rest of your day. Until our next episode drops, y'all be good. Rocco, as always.
Thank, thanks for your support, and we'll be here whether the internet goes out. We don't give a shit. We're gonna be here.
Yeah, very emphasis on if the internet goes out, we're gonna make that shit do.
But this is a fun time of year, so trading is going crazy right now. So
Mhm.
go send some offers because people are starting to get excited. We're just a few weeks out from the draft, and people are starting to get back into football mode. So, have fun in those dynasty leagues. Remember, it's a year-round sport. So, send out some offers. Have some fun with it.
Yes, sir. And that is the episode. Till next time, y'all be good. Stay great. This is Fourth and Fantasy.
Fourth and